going to deal with all of these. But if for nothing at all, he gave real meaning to the institution, the United Nations, gave it prominence, and gave it respect. Went up against perhaps the biggest funders and people, and of course, he's the only person who got the US to pay up all their debt to the UN to, when he was still not in the very best of ideological terms with the people at that particular end.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one extraordinary person. I remember the Dalai Lama described him as one man with, and the word is preternatural calmness, as in he has an extraordinary way of being calm, even in the face of adversity of the highest level.
And it's something that he carried with him his entire life. Apparently, even from those who knew him all his life, they say he's always had this air around him, and it makes you careful to approach him to an extent. And I think that it's some of that quiet strength, Raymond, that he showed when he was introducing these institutional reforms within the organization, the UN, and then taking that beyond the doors of just, the towers in New York, when he had to stand up to the United States and the UK and what have you. But let me just say, we'll be speaking to a number of dignitaries today. We would begin from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Dr. Kofi Annan will be speaking, and then we'll also get a number of people who knew him personally. Dr. Annan is on the line, and we'll be speaking to him now. Good morning, Doc. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yes, good morning. It's a great pleasure.
Great. Wish we were speaking under better circumstances, but what are your thoughts on the death of Mr. Kofi Annan?
Well, probably shock does not capture it. A deep sense of sadness, but above all else, an unfathomable sense of loss. That not only a Ghanaian or an African, but a world-class statesman whose humility, whose integrity, whose intellectual prowess and principled stance helped to make this world a better place for all of us. So it's a great loss. But I think for me, the real issue is, how do we celebrate and protect Busumuru's legacy in a country that has a terrible reputation for the protection of the legacies of its important sons and daughters? Protecting Mr. Annan's legacy, for me, is now the front line for the battle that we need to fight.
So what would be the best way, in your view, to protect his legacy?
Well, there are a couple of things, but let me speak to why I think it's important to identify that legacy and to protect it. What Mr. Annan achieved must be protected so that for generations yet unborn, that a Ghanaian who speaks Ghanaian English with a very unique accent, through dint of hard work, understanding how to play the international game at the highest level, playing it according to its rules, and beating his detractors at the game, is worthy of protection and emulation. But what do we need to do? Legacies are protected and nurtured in different ways. So we can start with his papers, his handwritten letters, his books, his different mementos. You see, right now, collecting those mementos have become mega box. But I think if this is a nationally led process, and I haven't spoken to my boss at the Kofi Annan Center yet, but I think this is something that we earlier on started already by instituting a lecture, an annual lecture in his name, together with another former Secretary General, Dakar Mashon. So one is talking about him consistently on a big stage annually.
Right.
The second is gathering those papers, protecting them, and cataloging them for future study.
Now, Doc, apart from what we must do to protect his legacy, let's find out from you finally, personally, what you think his greatest legacy was on Ghana, Africa, and on the world, on international peace and security.
I mean, his greatest legacy for us Ghanaians is the identity part. That he went onto the international stage and succeeded. That it can be done. We just need to up our game and do it well. Internationally, there are several things. That as an individual heading an international organization, he stood up to the world's superpower and said, there's no justification for going to Iraq. And that, to just make two quick points, leads to the battle about his legacy. One relates to the misinterpretations around his role in the Rwandan genocide. The decision to send troops was for the Security Council and not for Mr. Annan as the Under-Secretary General for Peacekeeping. So that we must get straight. The second relates to the oil for food scandal. That was a deliberate, manipulative process by the U.S. led by both Mr. Bush and Magdalene Albright, because Mr. Annan, because of his integrity, had dared to say that there was no basis for intervention, and that by saying that he had intervened in America's domestic politics. Okay, we need as Ghanaians and as Ghanaian scholars and Africanist scholars to get those facts right and to protect the legacy of this great son of the soil. I certainly am proud that through Infantipim School, through the UN, and now at the Kofi Annan Center, I got to know this man and got to know him very well.
Right. Before we go, actually, that is just what I wanted to end with your personal experience with him. How did you know him? What kind of a man was he in your view?
The late Mr. Annan was a man who could talk and hug a baby, a crying baby, and let that baby feel safe and secure. He sat on the dusty ground in the displaced camps of Sudan. He came across as a humble man, a very humble man, whose drive basically was to ensure that humanity was given the best deal, who used his life as an example for improving other people's lives. But he did it in such a humble, open, accessible, grandfatherly manner that his presence generated confidence, his presence generated trust. His deep, soft, baritone voice created a sense of belonging. This was a man whose very life symbolized also his public attitude, his work. Honest, transparent, driven by integrity, underpinned by his humaneness and a desire to make the world a better place for all of us.
And how did you get to know him?
I got to know him first through the UN system. There were a couple of speeches that I had been invited to deliver where he was present. I got to know him also through my work on the global responsibility to protect, where I served as an executive board member. I further on got to know him where I served as an executive member of the World Economic Forum's Council for Conflict Prevention. And then finally, also at the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center, where he occasionally came to visit us. So his office is just adjacent to my office. So whenever he came to visit, and after the public hula baloo, then I got a couple of minutes to talk to him. Finally was my work for his successor on the Peace Building Fund, where I served as a member of the advisory group. Under Mr. Annan, peace building became one of the important aspects of the post-conflict work, and particularly the establishment of the Peace Building Fund that started from his period and the Peace Building Support Office.
Right.
So, yeah, I got to know him
right
at different levels, but
on different
personal
levels.
ones that I really do appreciate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kofi Annan.
Remember, so they won't forget I was here. I lived, I loved, I was here. I did, I've done everything that I wanted, and it was
And that was Dr. Kofi Annan, head of faculty as the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. We'll go back on the phone lines and speak with Ambassador Patrick Hayford, Director for Africa in the Executive Office of the Secretary General of the UN from 1999 to 2005. Ambassador Hayford, we are grateful that you could join us this morning.
My pleasure.
You worked with His Excellency Kofi Annan, and you met him on a daily basis for a number of years. First of all, tell us, what sort of person was he?
A perfect gentleman, always polite, always courteous, always concerned about the personal welfare of his staff, even at the most difficult of times. Never raised his voice, always listened to you very carefully, read what you sent to him very carefully, always consulted widely and made sure that he had got the full range of views on anything before making a decision. A wonderful, wonderful person and a good leader.
Definitely. So when did you first meet him?
I first met him when I believe he was then head of personnel or in one of his other many responsibilities before he became Secretary General. You see, I served in New York as a counselor, as a delegate of Ghana to the United Nations between 1981 and 1986. I was a counselor in the Ghana Permanent Mission. And it was during that period that I met him informally for the first time. We had a wonderful gentleman at the UN called Mr. Eugene Forson, who was then the head of the Ghana News Agency office at the UN. And all of us Ghanaians used to congregate in his office once in a while. And one day I went to his office and there was this wonderful gentleman, Mr. Kofi Annan. I'd heard of him, but that was the first time I met him.
And how did you grow close to him and end up working in his office? How did that relationship develop?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I was High Commissioner of Ghana to South Africa between 1997 and 1999. And it was, I believe, in 1999 when I got a call from then Secretary General Kofi Annan's office that he wanted to speak to me. And he said, when we spoke, he simply stated that he wanted to strengthen his office in on the Africa agenda, and apparently several people had mentioned me as a possible suitable candidate. So I was interviewed, and then there were several other candidates, of course, and then we got permission. I was seconded from the Ghana government with the parents of President Rollins at the time, and that's how I ended up working in his office.
Okay. So you were in his office during some of the most difficult times, the time that he had to stand up to the United States about the invasion of Iraq and all of that. In those times, what was his demeanor like? How much did some of the difficulties he faced take a toll on him personally?
Well, no, the amazing thing was how calm, how measured he was, and how restrained he was, even under the most intense pressure. Now, please remember, this was the time of civil war in Liberia, civil war in Sierra Leone, civil war in the DRC Congo, civil war in Angola, etc., etc. And he stayed calm, and he just did his job, rallied member states around, consulted at all levels, the heads of state, the foreign ministers, worked closely with the Security Council and with the membership, and especially kept the morale of UN staff at the highest possible level by always speaking to them, by interacting with them, by understanding their problems. Because he had been a staff member for so many years, he had this deep understanding of their problems and challenges, and he tried to do whatever he could to address them. And at least they always knew that he was there for them. He cared, and he showed that he cared.
So what did people say about him? I mean, in the office, what sort of a boss was he?
That's what I mentioned earlier. It was amazing how when he came in the morning, even though there might be a crisis somewhere in the world, which had just been brought to his attention, the first thing he would do would be to say hello, ask how you were doing. And because he had been in the UN for so long, he knew many of the staff and their families. And he would ask by name, and very calmly go to his office, get a briefing about what's going on, and settle down to business. So it was a real pleasure to work with him, because he was always courteous, he was always gracious, always calm. And he was always ready to listen to you as a member of his staff. He would ask questions, very, very, very probing questions, and he would consult everybody that had to be consulted before he made a decision.
What, in your view, was the one thing that he was most passionate about? What was the one subject that, as soon as it was mentioned, he would show that this is something he feels strongly about?
His greatest passion was peace, the promotion of peace, which is the mission statement of the UN. You remember the charter, the introductory paragraphs. We, the peoples of the world, determined to save mankind from the scourge of war. He believed that very strongly. The mission of the UN was to bring peace, bring an end to conflict. And so he was particularly passionate about doing everything possible, using the UN to promote peace and development, bringing an end to extreme poverty, seeing that every child on the planet got into school, promoting healthcare, women's rights, etc., etc. So he was passionate about these things, committed his whole life to promoting them.
Right. So what would be, in your view, the greatest lessons that we should pick moving forward?
Well, I think, the greatest tribute we can pay to Mr. Kofi Annan is to continue to pursue peace, to continue to pursue eliminating extreme poverty, getting every child in school, promoting basic rights for women, basic health care, etc. This is the greatest tribute we can pay to him by continuing the good work he did so with such dedication.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Patrick Clifford,
It's a pleasure.
for joining us. Ambassador Patrick Hayford worked with Mr. Kofi Annan. He was in the Director for Africa in the Executive Office of the Secretary General of the UN from 1999 to 2005.
I wanna leave my footprints on the sands of time. Know there was something that meant something that I left behind. When I leave this world, I'll leave no regret.
9 minutes past 8 on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM, and we're remembering His Excellency Busumuru Kofi Annan. I am Daniel Daze. I'm here in the studios with Enima Enimado, whom I would be asking to speak now, but of course Raymond Akwa is also here, and Malik Abbas Dabo. Enima, very humbling memories.
Yes, indeed. And so Barack Obama has sent his tribute as well. And there's a part that really just caught my heart. He says, long after he had broken barriers, Kofi never stopped his pursuit of a better world and made time to motivate and inspire the next generation of leaders. That's from former President of the United States, Barack Obama. And it really just speaks to Mr. Annan's heart, doesn't it? Because after you've achieved everything, what do you leave for the next generation? And that's what's most important. And it's just amazing that President Obama would speak about his mentorship of the next generation, because that's what we need moving forward. So
he was very passionate about particularly integration of young people in leadership in Africa, and he made that clear whenever he spoke. And I think that it's something very important. Malik, let me come to you to get your thoughts on this.
I've always followed international politics at a very young age, and I followed Mr. Annan's leadership of the world. And two things stand out for me: his opposition to the war in Iraq and his insistence that the Palestinians' claims of massacre in the Jamin refugee camp by Israeli soldiers ought to be investigated. And I followed those two incidents very well. In the course of the news review, I said that at the time when he opposed the Iraq war and insisted that any decision by the U.S. authorities to invade Iraq ought to be based on sound information. So he insisted that the Chief Weapons Inspector at the time, Hans Blix, and Mohammed El-Baradei, who was head of the International Atomic Agency, ought to go into Iraq, verify all the claims that the Bush administration made about the existence of weapons of mass destruction in that country before any decision could be made. Of course, when they went into the country, they didn't find any. The authorities insisted that the Saddam Hussein had loaded trucks with the weapons of mass destruction, and they were on the streets of Baghdad, in other street corners, and therefore the chief inspector and the International Atomic Energy Agency could not find these things, and therefore they would take the decision. But he stood against it. And again, when he delivered his farewell message at the Harry Truman Library, he said, and I remember clearly when he said that the United States, which is the beacon of democracy, they founded it, and they want the entire world to be democratized so that people can have freedom and speak their minds. That when the U.S. begin to take decisions that are not in consonance with the tenets of democracy, they leave the rest of the world confused. And I remember those words. The fact that the countries that laid the foundation for democracy cannot be taking decisions that are not in consonance with the tenets of democracy.
He showed a lot of strength of character.
Absolutely. And he was delivering this speech on U.S. soil. And remember, I said his fight with John Bolton, who was U.S. Secretary to the UN at the time. At some point, John Bolton told Kofi Annan that he should come and take the headquarters of the UN from the U.S. In Kofi Annan's opposition to the Iraq war.
And it is worth saying that in that particular Harry S. Truman is the U.S. president that led the formation of the UN. The entire concept of the United Nations was that of Harry Truman.
Of course, and he was standing in an auditorium which was commemorating his memory.
Absolutely, that you have a history in this institution.
Great.
So you ought to act accordingly. If I even call that decision illegal, flouting the Charter of the UN and even the Security Council's decision 1441.
Absolutely. And
I wonder if today we can find people
with such courage,
who can stand up to superpowers of the world and say what must be said.
Yes. And again, when the Palestinians made complaints, the Hamas and the Palestinian Authority argued that because of some war between them and the Israeli soldiers in Jenin refugee camp, they claimed that there was a massacre of about 500 people. The UN said it was going to investigate. The Israelis were upset about the call itself for investigation. And of course, because of the instrumentality of Kofi Annan, there was a unanimous decision by the Security Council for investigations into the claims. And of course, when the committee set up, the Israeli authorities said that they will not allow access to the camp so that the investigations can happen. And for a very long time, for days and days and days, the investigators could not have access. Eventually, there were calls on Kofi Annan to disband the group. He insisted that whatever material they could find, they should conduct the investigations. In the end, they issued a cautious report, of course, dismissing the Palestinians' claims about massacre, but holding the view that many civilians were killed. About 52 civilians were killed in that. Those two incidents of courage and commitment and dedication and determination to stand your ground and stand by your beliefs, regardless of who you are up against, are very, very important values for every young
person to pick. Yes, anyone, let's end with the messages from listeners, and then we move from the subject.
So from Comrade Tony Ndodowa, he says, my condolences to Kofi Annan's family at large. I think we need to build a museum in his honor. Oyibo Boating says, the death of Kofi Annan is very sad and shocking. Ghana has lost a great international diplomat. My condolences to the family. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Mikhail says we need to keep the hope alive and strive for the better. Kofi Annan was the hope, and from his legacy we will strive for the better. Emilia says, my first time seeing this great, humble, gentle and peaceful man was the opening of Swapa. Although I was a teen, that was when I took inspiration from him that an African can also move as far as he or she wants in this world. May his soul rest in peace. And Mohammed Yusuf Dishini says, I broke down in tears when I heard the news that he had passed on. I'm a former student of the Kofi Annan Vocational Training Institute in the Northern Region. Nana Kranting says, good morning. Do you realize that this international icon from Kumasi lived out his humility and ingenuity? Though he attained many accolades, he remained Mr. Kofi Annan. Indeed, Ahenepa Nkasa. How I pray he will be promoted to Ghanaian youth as the role model worth emulating. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
And I got bills that I have to pay. Now you're running late, running out of time. Feels like the world is waiting in line.
Yeah, what's up we are say? Ube phone. Now I dial star 737 hash. Entinia we bia. Enipa we bia no. Ekwan o ha bia nim wo homo bia. Abrabo enye din ni achiri kra. E won sa no ene yia so magic ni hwe. Ni nyina sha ase wo star 737 hash. GT Bank star 737 hash so die. Utumi bia account foforo wo phone so. Eto airtime, etuaka. DSTV ni subscriptions. E check your account balance. Link your MTN mobile money account ni GT Bank account. Na transfer transfer sika ma busuafo ne namfofo. Eye koko kra.
I don't need to write or cash a check. I don't need data or internet. I have something that's faster than a jet. Just like
what they're talking about.
You could be a palm wine sapper, a teacher, a rapper, a schoolboy, or a school girl, or a trader, a bank MD, a chairman, or a baker.
Guaranteed Trust Bank. Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Don't come yo, don't come in. Hey, 10 pesos, 10 pesos. Vodafone is 10 years old and is giving you an anniversary gift of 10 times bonus and 10 pesos call rate across networks. Browse for 10 pesos per megabyte. Call Vodafone or any other network at the same rate of 10 pesos per minute. That's not all, oh. Share your scratch card with 2 more people the Kikimi style, and the 3 of you will each enjoy 10 times the value of your card. Dial *135# to subscribe. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Nationwide Medical Insurance, the leader in private health insurance, has deployed superior technology to make your healthcare experience more convenient and exciting. With the Nationwide mobile app, you can order your prescription drugs and we will deliver to your doorsteps. With over 600 dependable healthcare service providers, you're just a step away locating your service provider of choice and accessing hospital claim information in real time. Our corporate clients are guaranteed timely corporate utilization reports. We provide on-site clinics to give employees access to healthcare in the comfort of their offices. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on toll-free number 0800-222222 or visit our website www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
Oh, hello, Amma. Long time, oh.
Oh, I've been standing here knocking, sir. Where were you?
Oh, I'm very sorry. I actually saw you in my cameras when you were walking in, but I was on a long-distance video call with a big cousin in the UK.
How are you able to do that?
Haven't you heard of the broadband service from Telesol? They offer fast speed with vast internet bundles to choose from and very affordable monthly rates.
Wow, is that so?
Yes, so they offer both 4G and fiber broadband.
Go on, tell me more.
And Telesol is fully Ghanaian.
I'm rushing right away to contact them. Any more details?
Yes, you can contact Telesol today for further details on 0303 975 342 or 344 or toll free on 0800 900,000 or visit www.telesol4g.com. Telesol 4G, just a touch.
Move on up. Moving on up is paying from your phone and getting looks of approval from your friends. Moving on up is doing all your banking from your bathroom like a boss. Moving on up is losing your wallet, but your money is still safe. Moving on up is attaching any bank's card to the EcoBank mobile app. Oh yeah, download the EcoBank mobile app. Make we go and bank like a boss.
Move on up with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
It's a new day.
I want you to first think big, not small. Think of how great we can be when we work together. Together, we can ensure that our hard work will provide a better future. Together, we can provide a foundation for you and your business to succeed, regardless of its size. Together, we can create opportunities for all.
You're ahead of the race.
Bank with us today and let's journey forward together.
Forward together.
Cowbank, forward together.
Blow the candles, sound the trumpet, and scream! Media is 50! Media, your #1 air conditioner and appliance manufacturer, is 50 years old. 50 years of top-notch quality, and we're celebrating it big. Starting from 15% discount on appliances from any Media showroom or authorized reseller. Join the celebration of Media at 50. We have amazing home appliances at great discounts. Tabletop fridges starting at 499 Ghana cedis. 4-burner gas cookers starting at 799 Ghana cedis. Chest freezers are also starting at 799 Ghana cedis. Blow the candles, sound the trumpet, and scream! And so many appliances for you to choose from. One so bejo, dear. Remember, it's a celebration. It's Media at 50 big sales on appliances. Visit a Media showroom or authorized reseller now or call us on 0503 400 600. It's the Media at 50 promotion. Terms and conditions apply.
The other day, as I was in my kitchen preparing my special jollof made with lily rice for my family, I heard a knock at the door. It was my mechanic. Instead of calling me to pick my car, he brought it himself. I said, "Cho," he said, "F-O." I said, "Take the car back. I will come and pick it myself." As I turned off the fire from under the lily jollof, there was another knock at the door. It was my neighbor. I said, neighbor. He said, "F-O, my dog has jammed your wall again, oh." I said, "Don't be silly. You don't have a dog." My wife and kids came home, and we saw that he enjoyed. Cho, it was my pastor. He said, "Bless you." I said, "Bless you too." He said, "Did he come to church on Saturday?" I said, "Acho, but why are you coming to tell me this on Wednesday?"
Having to fend off visitors at mealtimes because of Lele's tasty aromatic rice? Celebrate every mealtime by sharing with friends and family near or far. Lele, tasty food, happy family.
Acho.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Food and Drugs Authority.
Sugar Morning Show.
"16 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. Just gone by, we spoke with Ambassador Patrick Hayford, who was director in charge of Africa at the office of the UN Secretary General from 1999 to 2005. Worked closely with the late Kofi Annan. We also spoke with Dr. Kofi Annan, who is head of faculty at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. We're still remembering Mr. Kofi Annan. But before we go on, is a fabulous back-to-school offer at Roberts & Sons Optical Services. Bring your kids to any of our branches in Adenta, Wija, Adabraka, Osudankwa Circle, Tema and Kumasi and get a 10% discount on your total purchase of their spectacles. Kids between ages 8 and 16 also get a comprehensive eye test for free. Yes, free eye testing for kids between 8 and 16. Terms and conditions apply. Please call us or send a WhatsApp at 050-151-9111. 050-151-9111. Don't miss out on this offer for our kids. Visit us now. Roberts & Sons Optical Services. Seeing is believing. Now, speaking of kids, if you're worried about where to find money for school fees, you don't have to worry anymore. Republic Bank is offering you up to 10 times your monthly salary as loan to pay for your kids' school fees. Yes, depending on your income level, you can even get as low as 13% interest rate flat on the loan. Take advantage of the back to school loan and give your dependents all they need for school. Why don't you talk to us now? Visit any of our 43 branches nationwide for more details. You can visit our website republicghana.com and initiate your application online. You can call 030-224-209024 or WhatsApp 055-654-3212. Republic Bank, we are the one for you. Now, the government of Ghana has instituted a group life insurance package for both teaching and non-teaching staff of GES to ensure that every staff of GES has a minimum level of insurance cover and also to complement the existing funeral grant. The underwriter is SIC Life Company Limited. The package covers natural or accidental death, permanent disability and critical illness. Contributions will be deducted through the Controller and Accountant General's Department. Premium deductions will be done at the end of September 2018, whilst cover starts from 1st September 2018. Non-interested members should complete an exit and refund form and send to the District Education Office by 31st August 2018 to avoid any premium payment by government. Claims are simple. Staff or beneficiaries must submit a written notification from a teacher union or GES, completed death or claim form or medical form in the case of critical illness to SIC Life offices or GES for processing, and claims will be paid within 7 working days.
I wanna leave my footprints on the sand sands of time. No, there was something that
That was His Excellency Busumuru Kofi Annan speaking as he did Ghana's Continua Kwemu lecture 2 years ago in Accra. You know, there's an element of Kofi Annan's character which always made us feel proud as Ghanaians. I'll read this message from Prodeo, who is texting from Leeds in England. He says, I always wondered how and why Kofi Annan could day Abroche for plenty years, but his accent never changed. It's a lesson for we the young people who upon small school we start speak some gibberish things. Say they speak this. Okay, you texted me in pidgin that we are speaking the Queen's tongue. He's a true son of Africa. He should sleep well, and we will join him shortly. Prodeo, Leeds, England. I've heard so much reference being made to the way he speaks, as that alone being representative of, you know, who we are as Ghanaians, and him being able to keep that was made us feel.
And to think of it, he negotiated the most serious, the all very critical issues, the greatest of all times, and in fact dealt with very important international matters in the same tone, language that ordinarily many would have preferred did not sound like one British or American, did not have the affectation of somebody who stayed on a different continent for more than 3 decades and all of that happening within that space. So it is surprising, and to be fair, it sent the signal that the man's communication, and there's a course called diplomatic communication, the man's communication was not really based on, was not really based on his accent. You could see that he had a way of saying the right words.
And it doesn't really matter. That's the point.
And for the people who believe in Africa, he represented, through his speech alone, the point that you did not have to westernize. Like and that's actually the point, though. Westernize. Speak better English than what is spoken in Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
And act like you have a huge affectation that your tongue is way too different from the people that you are supposed to identify with. So it's a lesson, I agree. It's also important. I really do not feel that the people who do some of these things, it's because they cannot speak in any other way differently. I think that sometimes environment changes people and they want to adapt to other things. But if we can be minded by how language affects people, how language is part of people's cultural values and the importance which they attach to you, we equally would know that speaking the way you ought to speak, even if you are speaking somebody's language, matters a lot. It sends a signal to your people to be proud of you, to connect with you, and to live, and in our context, the Pan-African dream of not being westernized in all the things that you do. Because we've had enough westernization in our lives.
Elima, let me give you
I'm just saying that on the flip side of what Raymond says, as much as we should be proud of the way we speak, you know, in Ghana, typically, when you have an accent and you go somewhere, you actually get better results. If you go to the bank with an accent, if you go and you demand customer service treatment, you're actually treated better if you have that element. Research and data. It is part of the exact socialization. So I'm saying that I agree with you, Raymond. So I'm saying that it's important for us on the other side to also appreciate that this is who we are, and therefore we will not respect or treat better based on your ability to speak as if you don't belong here.
So it cuts both ways, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Don't think an accent is more important, and don't try and speak with an accent to sound more important.
The English is bad and there's accent
open the can
especially those who went to see people off and came back with an accent.
I have to say some on this one. Daniel, have you met a Chinese or a Japanese or an Afghani or anyone who tries to speak English the way the English people speak their language? Absolutely not. Everybody speaks the language with their own unique accent. It is only us that feel that in order for you to get respect in your own country, you must speak like another person.
But it's also because
guys, we have to go for the Joy Business Minute. We'll go for that. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
Hello Hello and welcome to the Joy Business Minute.
I'm Karen, he's Daryl, and these are our top stories.
3 banks have been forced to turn to the Bank of Ghana for emergency financial support to meet their daily operations. The move follows panic withdrawals that have hit some local banks.
Republic Bank says it has met the new minimum capital requirement ahead of the December deadline. According to the bank, it has even crossed the required 400 million cedis after raising 255 million cedis from its shareholders in a rights issue.
Petroleum prices have witnessed a marginal increase at the pumps. Our checks this morning show that some major OMCs like Guel have reviewed their prices downwards. Petrol is, for instance, going for 4 cedis 90 pesos. Diesel is going for 4 cedis 94 pesos.
And Ghana's domestic aviation industry has received a major boost with a new entrant, Passion Air. The airline is expected to begin its domestic operation this week on the Accra-Kumasi-Accra route.
And the competition starts.
Oh yes, Daryl, cash is again at 306.